Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the fourth of the Nordic webinar series, this winter-spring series. I can see that we have a good audience today as well, so happy with that. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Today we will talk about spring recovery, which I will hope that you will find exciting. I know you know your stuff, but you're a Nordic guys, and we have our challenges, and we will talk about that today. But yeah, hope you can, just refresh your mind, whatever. I know you know this well, all of you, but it's always good with a reminder and something new always. So hope that we can feed up. Okay, so again, we will start with our usual thing. So the GDPR. Please, if you can please take off your camera. It would be nice. We're good. Not that I don't want to see you. It's your own GDPR, because this event will be streamed live on Facebook. It will also be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel, Syngenta Turf Nordics, on Monday next week. So where you can again see if it's something you missed, you forgot, whatever. So it's always good to speed up. And then please keep yourself on mute, unless you, of course, want a question. Please go ahead, but if not, please mute yourself. You will, if you will experience that you are suddenly muted or whatever, it's our tech team who will be helping out and mute you if we feel there's some noise in the area. So yeah. And then I think we will introduce our speaker for today, which is Marcella Munoz, our technical manager in IAMI. So Marcella, would you be so kind to introduce yourself just a little bit? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lars. I will be very kind. I will introduce myself and do most of the presentation with your help. So for the ones that don't know me and already start thinking about my strange accent, I am Marcella Munoz with the N and the funny thing on the top. I'm from Chile, but I am based in the UK. I'm the Syngenta technical manager for Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. I've been with Syngenta 6 years already in this position. And before this, just to tell you a little bit about my background so you can believe a little bit more what I'm saying today. I'm an agronomist. I did my graduate studies at Ohio State University, so I will call myself part of the Ohio State Mafia. I know that probably more than a couple of you went through the Ohio State program as well, so very good university. I learned a lot of things, and actually I learned a lot about winter living in Ohio. So that's part of my learnings and life experience that I will share a little bit with you today. So I think that's from me. My biggest background is in a sports field, and I worked for the World Cup before and as a consultant in different other sports venues and situations. So that's me, Lars. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcella. You will be helpful speaking later, so thank you very much. And then for you, actually today I will also do some presentation as well. So I might need to introduce myself for you, those who know me. So I'm Lars Tveter. I'm the business manager for the Nordics for Syngenta. I have been in this position now for the last 8 to 9 years. And then my background is greenkeeping as well. So I've been working as a course manager for 12 years before I started with Syngenta. At the golf course, I'm actually, you can see behind me, it's where we are now. Actually, you can see here it's quite rainy. It's not the best weather. I think it's quite Scottish weather, but I know for our Nordic friends, I know there has been quite some snowfall the last days. So I talked to some guys in Helsinki. So I think 3 days ago or something, they suddenly had -20 at night and -10 at day and 30 cents snow. Talked with my brother this morning in Oslo. He wake up this morning with 30, 40 centimeters snow, so crazy. I know there are snow in Skåne area. I had a mail from Göran Tyrsing, which is the manager of the Swedish association. He said white area there as well, so I guess you have some snow. But yeah, actually this is also then reflecting the difficulties and the issues we have in spring with Nordic golf courses, and really to get the turf back into play. And it's I know it's not easy. Well, at some point maybe the COVID would help us now, because all our members hasn't been in Spain for the last months and played on green, nice surfaces, and coming back there and expect the same conditions here. Maybe not in that position this year, so good for us, but still there are a lot of players who really are eager to get out there and play. So yeah, we need to try and get the course back into play, and that's really hopefully that's something we can talk about today, and something hope we can pick up, and hopefully we in Syngenta can help you with that as well. So yeah, as I said in the introduction, and you have an invitation to talk about abiotic stresses. That's covered by Marcella, and then we also will talk about seedling and establishment. We know how difficult it is to get establishment of the seedlings and of the seeds and germination and everything, and really quick enough and strong enough before we can let the players out, and that's really critical for us here. And also water management, which is really something that's I know I heard somebody said sometime that probably one of the biggest mistakes done by course managers in, I think everywhere, but also in Nordics, I think, is irrigating too much in the spring. I don't know if too much in series, or if it's too little too often, but it's something that we need to really take in consideration. So it's important. But yeah, some areas you have frost in the ground, you can't start up the irrigation system, and then you have the warm winds, and you have the and it's actually you really need to have some water on, but you can't open the covers maybe. But yeah, it's something we need to discuss and talk about. So we'll come back to that. But before that, we'll talk a little bit about the issues and the challenges we really have. So yeah, winter spring recovery, that's what we cover today. I think next slide we'll see something. So when I put this slide on some days ago, I was thinking, maybe not, because it's actually spring has come early and it's no snow left, and it's maybe it doesn't fit. And then the snowfall last days actually shows its fish really well, and it really shows the issues we have and the challenges. So I think it's just current. It's probably something we can see on many golf courses in Nordics today. So yeah, it's something we will have to face, and something we need to. And this could maybe be a picture from today, and actually for in the next 2 weeks, maybe it should be playable. You never know. So the expectations are there anyway. I don't know if there is anything with my sound, but I hope you can hear me. I'm not sure. Hope. Let me know, and use the chat function if you have questions, or if you have issues like not hearing me. Please put them in so we can address them and fix them. So I will go to the next slide. Yeah, exactly. So the snow is there. So what's possibly can go wrong in the spring? Well, yeah, that's exactly. We have a lot of challenges. So let's see in the next picture. I think this is one of them. This is okay. What can go wrong? All of you guys who had some ice kill and ice on the greens, you know what really can go wrong, and it's not a beautiful sight when you see it. So this is really a problem we need to face. So yeah, it's really wide in Nordics. So what do we have? We have desiccation. I mentioned it earlier. It's we have some frost in the ground. You still have dry top, dry wind coming on, and it really dries out the leaves and the canopy, which really needs some moisture. And how can you get the moisture on when you can't start up irrigation? So it's really difficult. Covers, you can see some there. Maybe that can be a good solution, but yeah, it's really something that weeds we can see as well. Weeds is usually you want to grow your turf, but sometimes the weeds of POA, which is something you don't want to grow, is usually coming wherever you want to grow. So that's something we need to address. Frost, frost been earlier, but it's during the winter. We all know frost, so one of them as a challenge. This is establishment, which we also will address today. It's you can see we're really eager to establish some turf, and then you can see some tire tracks and driving as well on the establishment, because it's really need to. We know that there will be people or wear and tear very early, so we need to make sure we have a really good establishment and really good quality quickly to be able to open up. And then the traffic. This really shows some of you hopefully don't have seen it, but I know many of you have seen it. I've seen it many times at this golf course. It's end of the year, October probably, has some first frost. People are driving. Maybe it's your staff. This maybe looks like the staff, and you can see those tracks in the spring. It's really not good, and you need to address this as well. And then we have diseases, as you see there. Next one is something we need to address as well, always. Application. Around application, it can be different. It can be everything. It can be your sprayer. It can be some issues with the sprayer always in the spring. The first spray, the first setup, the first try. It could be irrigation system. Oh, well, yeah. You have some frost. Okay, what happened? Some pipe broke. Always, you have the frost, and that's something that you need to address as well. I know a lot of you guys, when the first day you start the pump, you start up the irrigation system, and like, fingers crossed. Let's hope it's not going to be any damage on the pipes, but yeah, fingers crossed this year as well. Short interval again. Snow leaves, snow gone, and golfers expect to play the next day, and that's a short interval. We need more time, and we need to address that as well. And then fertility, maybe you push everything you can, really push it to make sure you can see some growth, and then you can see there you have this woof and up and downs, and that could be a problem as well. And then you have abiotic stress, which is something that Marcela will talk about today, and then water management, which also will Marcela talk about later. So and it could be a problem, or not a problem. It could be that you need more information, and not sure if it's lack of information. It's maybe update on information as well is important. So yeah, and then we'll do the next slide, hopefully. And then I will leave it over to Marcela. So Marcela, you will receive the control from us. And so please go ahead.
Thank you, Lars. So I will start talking now after Lars mentioned, can you hear me? First of all. Yeah, I don't have any chat complaints or anything, so that means that you probably can hear me. So Lars already presented you all the challenges. You are more than aware about most of them. Hopefully, you are not having too many of them. But we will love to help you in all of those circumstances. But we don't have a magic wand. Sometimes, well, one time they called me the peach witch because they thought I had superpowers. But that doesn't last long. And then it just stayed the witch, you know. So that's a little bit of a funny story from my World Cup experience. But we will try to help maybe in a couple of things, and I will focus first on the abiotic stresses and the management of them. And then I will focus even more in some abiotic stresses. So first, you understand what is an abiotic stress, very general and very simple. Basically, is something that is a non-living factor that will affect a living organism. So in that category of abiotic, you can find things like heat, cold, drought, floating, anything that is really not living. So with that, I mean, we are not going to focus on weeds or diseases because those are living organisms affecting other living organisms. So it's just a simple definition to put everything in context. So I would like to first explain you what happens in a turf plant when it's under any type of stress, because these abiotic factors will stress the plant. But it doesn't matter too much really if it's heat, cold, or floating. The plant will basically react in the same way. So what happens inside of the plant first is that the plant will receive this stress and will generate a response. So this is called like an stress response from the plant. And that could lead into genes activation, protein expressions, and a lot of things. But at the very beginning, you will start having an increase of free radicals. These are molecules that are highly reactive and can create different things inside of the plant. Then the photosynthesis of the plants is going to be reduced. In some cases, like now in the spring, getting out of the winter, is actually you want that photosynthesis to start. So sometimes it didn't even start the process. But if the photosynthesis already started, then it will gonna be reduced because of this stress, expression. Then the carbohydrates reserves of the plant will start being depleted because you will have less respiration of the plant, and that will mean less energy produced, less nitrogen uptake from the soil, and then of course less amino acids productions, and that means that you are going to start having a situation where the plant don't have the tools, the building blocks that it needs to regenerate or create more metabolic processes. So what normally the plant will do is that because if they're not getting what they need in terms of the food that the plant needs, they will start breaking down proteins that are already in the plant. This process is called reassimilation or turnover of proteins as well, and to produce more nitrogen so they could cope with this new stress. So you can have actually a peak in creation of new amino acids, but it has a cost, a very high cost, because you are burning proteins that you already develop in your plant. So this cannot stand over time. And at the very end, what happens in the plant is that you're going to have a lot of physiological malfunctions and metabolic problems, and the plant will collapse and die at the end. So this is like a very general, and I will say kind of simple overview of the physiology of the plant and what happens when it's under an stress. Could be abiotic or biotic stress, but in general, this is how the plant will try to cope. So I will now focus more into some abiotic stresses that you are facing now, getting out of the winter, going into spring. As Lars already mentioned, you have cold temperatures, you have a snow or ice cover, or maybe both of them in some cases. You have a soil that it's probably frost or in process of defrosting. You can have dry and warm winds in the spring. And also you have a problem of unavailable water. That could be because of hypoxia, because of your soil, because of the ice or other situations. So all of these are abiotic stresses that are causing some type of stress in the plant. And one that is pretty common in the Nordic countries is desiccation. Desiccation basically happens when you have these cold temperatures at the very beginning that generates this ice cover. Your soil is in that stage of maybe frosting, really defrosting, and you have this dry warm wind. So the plants start activating, start doing the process, but it gets dry. The moisture goes out of the leaf surface and the plant cannot uptake that water through the roots because the water is not available in the soil for it. So how bad this is going to be or not into the plant, and in general for any kind of a stress, will depend, the damage of level you will see will depend on the quality of the stress, the duration of this stress, and the intensity that you will have. So also will depend on the cultivar, the variety, and the species that you are using as turf in your golf course or sport field. But if you get into a point with the desiccation where the crown of the plant gets dry, then it will not be possible for the plant to resume the growth. The plant will die. So if you have like a higher kind of, a high cut in your turf grass, you might not get to the crown so fast, so you might be able to recover that grass. But normally if you're in a green situation where you are mowing really short and the crowns are exposed to these conditions, then you probably will have a dead plant. That's the reality. So again, if I try to use my magic wand to come up with a perfect solution for desiccation, I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, I'm not so powerful, I don't have it. So solutions and maybe an integrated approach can be something that we can think about. And today I'm going to focus this presentation on a couple of things. We are going to talk about recovering when the stress didn't kill your plant, so you still have a plant there that is fighting to survive. So we will talk about this recovery. We will talk about reseeding, as Lars mentioned before. It's something that hopefully we don't have to do, but if we have to do it, then let's try to do it as good as possible. Lars will mention also a little bit about temperatures and maybe a way of getting some extra 1 or 2 degrees in your soil surface. So that's what Lars is going to talk about at the end. So with all of them together, actually, we're talking about an integrated approach. So no one specific thing that will do all the work. So I will go to the next slide. It's not as fast as me. There you go. So we will talk a little bit about HiCure. HiCure is a new biostimulant from Syngenta, but I don't want to really focus on the product itself too much. I want to talk about the role of these amino acids, because this is it's a product based on amino acids. So I want to talk about their role in this recovery phase, because HiCure is a product that I have been testing for the last 5-6 years, and we have seen a good improvement in quality, in color, and also a good performance under drought conditions and also under recovery phase. So I will go more in details. The idea is to try to boost, this recovery from the grass. So the composition of our product HiCure is a little bit different, and I think it's important to understand what is the theory behind it, because you can have different products in the market, and I want you to make your decision, of course, but well informed. And sometimes we don't talk too much about the differences between the amino acids and the form and the formulation of the products. So it's very important to understand that there is it's good to have a balance, and you have the amino acids are the building blocks of the protein. So it's like a Lego, like my colleague Glenn always make that analogy. With the amino acids, like a little Lego, and with the Lego you create your whole, structures. So you have these amino acids can be in different forms and shapes, and besides that, they can be in different sizes. So they can be kind of alone, like we call them the free amino acids, or they can be in short chains. So basically, our amino acids stick together, and they can be in long chain. So it's like a bus and a train, and then a single car. So how it works in the plant, it's going to be different depending on their size. If you have 3 amino acids, they're going to be uptaken by the plant easily and faster. So it could be kind of like a fast release fertilizer in some way. And then you have like these big chains, the plant, it takes longer for the plant to break them down. So that could be seen as a slow release kind of a product. So you have in here a graph that is showing the composition of the product Hiker. And you can see in the y-axis the percentage, that means the amount of amino acids that are in that specific form. And then the other x axis, you can see the molecular weight. That means the size, basically. So the gray bars shows the free amino acids. So you have a good quantity compared with the short chain. So those are kind of like more fast release type of amino acids. And then you also have the long chain, but you have it in less proportion. And that balance is what is helping your plant to use these amino acids at different times and moments. So also in this case, very specific, the long chain amino acids also act like a surfactant and are the responsible also of the viscosity of the product, and it makes it stick into the leaf for a longer time. So besides the breaking down and that other property. So this is a little bit about, amino acids in general, the composition in this case of Hiker, but also you have 18 amino acids in this product. You have 63% of the composition is amino acids, but it's also important to understand which type of amino acids and what they are doing in the plant. So in this formulation that we have short, long chain, but also we have high content of amino acids. The amino acids called proline and hydroxyproline. And it's important to understand those two in this context for your situation, because they ask as osmolytes, and I will explain this concept a little bit further, because these compounds protect the cells from the osmotic stress. So we will talk about Osmo Protection. The glycine is also another one that helps as an osmolyte, but also is a precursor to chlorophyll. And we have a high percentage of glutamic and alanine as well, that those are essential blocks for other creation of amino acids and also from the recovery phase. So this is a little bit about the type of amino acids. So it's not only important how many, but also which ones. In this slide, I want to explain a little bit the concept of the Osmo Protection. As I said before, when you are under a frost, a cold condition, ice formation, the plant will generate some salts inside of the plant. And inside of the cell, you need to have a balance, and the plant has this osmotic potential. And it also has this turgor pressure, that it's basically this force against the wall cells. So this is a cell that is starting to be in balance, and naturally the plant creates these amino acids, for example, the proline, to strengthen these plasma membranes. So you have a better turgor, so that means your cell is more rigid. So it doesn't allow the water to go out so easily. But also the proline and the glycine, they act as osmolytes, and that means that they help keeping the water inside and kind of neutralize the salts that are produced because of some of the stresses. So I will show you a video, well, a short animation of what happened inside of a cell when you are under drought heat of ice formation. So basically the water will get out of the cell, and if that's for a prolonged time, then you will have a cell collapse from the inside of the cell. So I think that explains a little bit about the concept of the Osmo Protection. So amino acids that have osmolyte capabilities. And now I will show you some of the research. As I mentioned to you before, I have been working with this product for the last 5 years. And this is a trial that we did at the University of Valencia in pots. This was about 5 years ago. And we did it under different abiotic stress conditions, and the results that you have in front are a little bit different, because I try to find a methodology to show the recovery after an stress that it was different in this case because I used a herbicide. So I really wanted to push that phytotoxicity that the herbicide created in the turf to see if I put the amino acids there, I can see this recovery. So we applied the high cure at 20 liters every 28 days and 50 liters every 28 days. So I always use in research, kind of a normal rate and then a higher rate to prove, the concept. And also we had one untreated with no stress at all. So sorry, the herbicide I used was bisphenipac sodium. And I used this one in particular because I didn't want to use one that was really taking out the same amino acids I was replacing. So that's a little bit more into the science of it and the reason why I choose this herbicide. So after applying the high cure, after the stress, you can see in this picture the response of the plant. So the 3 pods that are in the bottom are the ones affected by the herbicide, and the ones in the top are the ones that receive the high cure application 3 weeks after the stress application. So this was kind of like a very research proof of concept, but of course we continue doing these type of trials then in field conditions. But I think it proves the point of like the amino acids getting into the plant in the moment that we need that recovery and the uptake from it and the result. Going to the next one, because I want to show you quickly another different trial that I did with high cure. And this one is related with seedling, because now we are going to jump into seedling. And in this case, we did applications 28 days after sowing. We did 3 applications of high cure at 20 liters and 40 liters. And the difference in the terms of fresh weight, that means the biomass, it was significantly higher when you apply the amino acids in this stage where the seed is, already out, germinated, but it's developing and really growing. This was done in ryegrass, but we have seen that in another type of grasses as well. Sorry. So now I will jump into seed and establishment. And I will go again into some more educational kind of context to put a name into the processes. So we talk about sowing, but also we have a process of reseeding. That's a little bit different, but at the very end, we need to protect that seed anyway. And also we talk about renovation. So this could be applied for any of the 3, processes. But when we talk about germination, we normally talk about plants that are already doing the photosynthesis 100%. So I think that's when the process really finished. And I will go into more details there. So in these bubbles that you have here, first leaf stage is germination. And then when you go into almost the second leaf stage is when you start talking about establishment. So establishment is basically all the steps that you need to take to promote this seed to be viable and to have this establishment, sorry, to have all the plants established at the same time. So now more into the germination. There are 3 primary processes in germination. I have a picture here and a graph, so I will guide you through it. It's a lot of information in one slide, but I will go through the processes. So the first one is the imbibition, and basically is when all the conditions are good, you have with weather, good temperature, whatever else, you say, I will put the seed and it will go out. It's not so easy because the first thing that the seed needs is water and oxygen from the soil. So if you have those 2 things plus the environmental conditions, then the physical processes start. The second stage is the preparatory period, and that's all the metabolic activation. So then is when you start seeing the first little radical primary root starting. And then you have the radical emergence. And that will be the last stage of this germination process when all the cell elongation and division has started. So in this picture, you can see the time. This is for a tall fescue from 0 to 6 days, how it went from seeds to the radical and the first leaf elongating. But during this process, some interesting things happen. And one of them is that when you are starting the radical, the primary root, the seed start exudating some sugars and some other compounds that are attracting pathogens. because they are really good food for them. So it's something that we normally don't think about. But in this process, you are actually creating the best conditions for pathogen to arrive. And gets even worse if you are over fertilizing, over watering, if you have shade, and if you have the right temperatures. So, and this happened in this very early stage. And this other graph here is showing the uptake of water from the seed related to these 3 stages. So in the imbibition, it's really important to have the water and you have a good uptake. In the preparatory period, not so much. So it kind of stopped the uptake for a little bit. And then when the radicals start emerging and cell elongating up, then you start using more water. So I just wanted to point this out because of what Lars was saying. We normally go into the fear factor and we tend to overwater a lot, but the plant not always needs all that water as we think it needs. At the very beginning to start the process, yes, but then we need to be consciousness about it because more water also means more signals for pathogens. Next slide. Let's see. There you go. So seedling and establishment is absolutely the most critical stage. We have a baby there that we need to take care of. It's affected by a lot of things. Seed quality and the speed of germination is really important. The management practices, the environmental conditions, and also the susceptibility of the seeds that you are choosing for developing diseases. And one of the most normal ones is damping off. So I will talk about 3 things here about seedling and establishment that I hope it could help you a little bit in your process. I will talk about water management, disease, and Lars will finish with temperatures. So in terms of water management, we were saying that we tend to overwater and sometimes we are watering, but the water is not available for the plant. So I started some trials in 2015 to look at effect in germination and establishment with the wetting agent that we have called Calibra. And we started the study first in Petri dishes to look at safety. Then I went into greenhouses in 2015. Then I moved into hydrophobic conditions and soils. Then I moved into the field user trials. And today, 2021, I'm looking at integrated approach. So this is not a 1-year trial. It's a lot of years of trying to understand the process and how we can improve it. So one of the first questions for me is like, was it safe to apply Calibra at the moment of germination? Would really help, or maybe I should wait a little bit because it's not so safe. And can I improve germination if you're under hydrophobicity? Because hydrophobicity is something that happens normally in the soils. You can have the organic matter from your plants are degrading. So that degradation and exudates are creating a layer, I will say like a waxy layer into your soil particles. So it's not something that you say, I put something absolutely new here. I don't have any problem with hydrophobicity. It's something that is building up over time. So you can have a spot and place where in your golf course or your football field that you have that hydrophobicity problems, but because of a natural occurring process, not because you didn't use the right soil. So it's something that normally happens and it creates a not very homogeneous germination as well. So Calibra, just for the ones that don't know the product, is a 2-way action product. It has a penetrant effect, so it means allows the water to move through the upper part of the profile, but also has a polymer part that allows that water to stay in the root zone where we want the water to be and help that water to be homogeneous. So the moisture is well distributed evenly and deeper where we want it. So it's a 2-way action. You have one or the other type in the market in terms of product, and you can make your decision based on your needs. So this was the greenhouse study that I first started. We did it at STRI in Bingley in 2015, 5 reps. We use a native soil for a typical USGA spectrum root zone. And they went to a golf course to get this soil. So it was a real soil from somebody that struggles with the problem of hydrophobicity. It was a golf course called the Royal Liverpool in Hoylake. So it's a real thing. It's not an artificial soil. So we tested in 3 grass species, bentgrass, fescues, and ryegrass. 5 days before seedling, we did the application of Calibra, and also on the day of sowing. different rates, 10 and 20 liters. We measured a lot of things, but I will show you some pictures because I think it tells the story better. You can see here the control, the Calibra apply on the day of sowing. So that means you get rid of the hydrophobicity before putting your seeds on. And then 5 days after sowing, and so on with the different rates. So we saw in bent grass an improve of 200% in terms of germination when you were able to break that hydrophobicity, and also germination was more homogeneous. So the results were really good, encouraging, and it was not only about the germination, it was also about the biomass. So we got better biomass in the roots and in the shoots. This is another graph. These are the results in Fescue. So the difference was massive again. We have a 20% of germination with the natural soil, and then 60, 70, and 80% when we apply the product. So this was kind of thinking different, of kind of improving your soil before even applying the seeds, because you will think maybe let's do Calibra later on when I have like a summer or a drought period. But if you're thinking in germinating and you have hydrophobicity problems, can help a lot. And finally, from my side, I will look at protect that new growth. And I will move a little bit farther from abiotic stresses, because I'm gonna include here something on diseases, and it's related because of the covers that you're using as well, that they create the perfect environment for pathogens to grow. Plus, if you put seeds on and then you put your covers again, then you're creating all these, exudates from the seeds calling the pathogens. So the diseases that are more normal in the germination process are, we call them normally dumping off or seedling blight, but it could be Phytium, Fusarium, or Rhizoctonia. You have like 15 different types of pathogens, and they will happen depending on your environmental conditions. So if you're under a cold environment, probably you will look more at Phytium blights than Rhizoctonia blights. And some of the symptoms, you have a blighted kind of leaf, weak, and it will collapse and die and form a circular patches. So with the seedlings, again, with diseases, it's very vulnerable. You have these exudates, you have a lot of water, and you have to manage your rates of seeds as well. We did a study. I'm not going to go through all the details because we're running out of time, and I'm seeing Lars already jumping there. He wants to make his part, but I'm finishing with this, Lars. I'm going to do it in 1 minute. We did this 3 steps as we did before, with lab study, greenhouse, and field study. And here what I wanted to see is when we can do our fungicide application, when it's safe for the seed. And I tested different fungicides. You will have a new fungicide now called Acernity, and I put it there, and we did the applications before sowing and then after sowing, 21 days after the application. And the important thing for this is that none of the fungicides that we use cause any phyto, and it's a good strategy to do a preventative application if you're going to seed, and if not, try to go as soon as you can. And normally that's the second leaf stage. So I think that's that's the trial area. We did this trial at STRI, and that's 45 days after sowing. We already applied the fungicides at the day of sowing and 21 days after, and there was no problem at all in terms of phytotoxicity. So I don't know if I lost control. Lars, you probably, there you go. So these are some of the results. So the germination, just to show you that it was very similar with the Instrata Elite with Acernity, applied 21 days after seeding and 4 days before sowing. So just some results. And I think that's it, Lars, from my side. All yours. I'm going to mute myself. If you have any questions, please leave them for Lars at the end.
Thanks, Marcela. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for your presentation. I think it highlights, I think, all the issues we have, and maybe helps also what we can help with the challenges we have. Just wanted to mention again, please use the chat function if you have questions. Just go ahead. We'll capture all the questions and take them in the end, and have the Q&A. So that we do in the end, no problem. Okay, so I will do a little bit about temperature. So just short slides, no big ones here, but I have some. I even think I've seen we have results. We have also seen other places that there are a possibility to warm up your soil in the greens a little bit quicker, and a little bit more. 2-3 degrees can make a difference. So, and that's something we have seen with either with the dyes or pigments. So for Syngenta, we have a rider, so that's a pigment seen. Definitely, you can increase the temperature both in the canopy and also in the soil. So you can be 2-3 degrees warmer, as I said. It also helps with the greens, the spring green up. It's also positivity on that. So here we have just a picture from this is from Appelsvoll. We did a trial with Bioforce or Nibio. This is autumn 27, where we did the trial, did the applications, and this is the spring then in 18. You can see differences. This is also together with medallion. Some of the slides plots, but also most of them are rider alone as well. And yes, it's a difference between turf not treated with the pigment and the plots treated. We can see they are coming back quicker. So absolutely a difference. So something to think about as well. This is just the graphs about how it looks. So you can see there, of course, with the medallion, it's a difference, but we're not talking about that today. This is, yeah, again, rider alone, that's the most interesting one, I think. Yes, of course, medallion and rider does it by itself, but you can see also it does something with rider alone as well, also with disease, but also getting help with coming back quicker. So that's something to think about. Yeah, this last one here as well. So you have think about the quality, the color, reduce the disease levels, of course, and then increase soil temperature, which is then again quicker spring recovery, which is what we are talking about today. So that's just a quick one for temperature. I wanted to add on. I think we are ending up now. So this was almost the end of the slides. This is just an example on a program applying rider pigment in the autumn together with your fungus applications. Do you have snow cover? It will stay under snow and stick to the leaf, and you will have a greener surface when the snow leaves. And then if you feel you need or you didn't put on rider or pigment in the autumn, you can also top them up when snow leaves in the spring. So no problem. I think, and that's just the end of the presentation. So thank you very much. Thank you to Marcella. Now we need to capture the questions. So I'm not sure if you have any questions in the chat.
I got a very difficult question here.
Oh, go ahead.
Very difficult. It says, what are the main reasons why amino acids and amino sugars are mostly low in sand-based greens? Okay, that's a tricky one. I'm going to be super honest. I'm not sure about the answer, but I can speculate because I'm very good at speculating. So I will tend to think that, well, because amino acids are also, a result of degrading organic and, well, microbial activity, absolutely, and degradation of other things that are living in the soil. My first thought will be that sand-based greens are very inert kind of soils, especially if they're new. So the capacity of, retaining that life, it's lower. that in a normal soil where you have a lot of microbial populations and it's super active and you have a lot of things going on. So the release and the breakdowns of the amino acids are, I will say, more rapid and more available in like normal soil conditions. Sand bases are artificial. The sands are not good even retaining water or nutrients. So it's not, I will say, the best environment for microbes to do their job. That will be my speculation, but I think that's a question I will look further, and I will come back to magnums with the probably the right answer. So I just use again my magical powers to come up with a very smart answer. So I don't know if maybe somebody else have something to add on that, but that will be my first thought.
Thanks, Marcella. Yeah,
At least he's saying thank you. So
I can see that. Yeah, very good.
yeah,
Thanks,
no,
Magnus.
but I'm
Thanks for your
happy to
question,
take.
Magnus.
It's a great question. I am happy
Yeah.
to take those difficult questions and actually explore more about, because it's yeah, it's a challenging topic to understand the amino acids fate, the composition. It's very complex, and there are not too many good tools to really research and understand them. So even inside of the plant, for me, has been very difficult to know how to mark them, or if we can see the fate of them, like moving from one place to the other one, because it's food. So a lot of things are eating it, and it's a process of the composition.
Yeah.
So I can see another question here,
Yeah.
Lars.
Yeah. Do you want me to
You can
to
go
read
ahead.
it?
Yeah.
So you can answer. Yeah, good.
I think this one is for you because it's about Rider.
No. So
Let's see.
someone said Rider works like a sun lotion cream. In Nordic countries like Iceland, we have long hours of sun in spring that might harm the plant. So how can Rider help there?
Do you want to take that one, Lars?
No,
Or
you
you
can
want
go
me
ahead.
to take it?
Yeah, I want you to take that. You are.
Well, the person you heard that, yeah, it acts like a sun lotion cream. It's one of the good comparisons. It's like me talking about Legos and amino acids. So yeah, what the Rider is doing is to protect the plant for that excessive UV light. If you have super excessive, nothing will do really the job, but it helps the plant because the plant naturally is creating pigments to try to absorb this excessive UV light. But it can create pigments until some level. So what we are doing with the Rider is giving that extra pigments for the plant to cope for longer. So will definitely help. And we have done more studies about that. So it's not only in practice, but also we have the science behind it. So we are recommending Rider for places where you have prolonged UV light exposure. So the Nordics, of course, it's one of the biggest places where you can see that value. Also, it's helping with drought, so it makes sense because sometimes you have the stress of the light plus the drought stress together. So yeah, definitely you can start using it in the spring. My friend from Ohio State, I don't know if maybe some of you have met Ed Nangle, a professor from Ohio State that he has been doing a lot of work with pigments. And I was talking to him last week, and he's doing right now actually some cold studies for us. He told me that you can do, and they're doing that in Chicago, in the US, 2 applications of Rider in the spring if you didn't do it in the fall, at higher rates probably than normal. And then you can continue with the normal program of Rider. The higher rates will depend also in your, appeal for the color, but it will give you some extra, temperature and protection from the start of the season. So I think, I hope to answer the question.
Yeah, thanks, Marcella. I might be able to answer this next one. Is that how many times during their season should I use Rider? So it's a little bit on what you want. If you are about the color, or if you are about the temperature benefit in the spring, or if you are thinking about anything else. So or there's UV protection, as Marcella says. It's mixable. So for example, with if you do your Primax program, maybe every 2 weeks, it's mixable in there as well. So, but the thing is, the only thing that is removing the pigment is cutting it off, really. So during the season, when you're cutting a lot and you have a lot of growth, it's, we say 3 weeks. We say, isn't it, Marcella, that it sticks on leaf?
But yeah, it's a very flexible product, and as you say, it depends on the management practices how fast it's going. So we have people that use it every, I don't know, 14 days if they have like a big important tournament or something, but 21 days, 28 days is also something that works well. So I will invite them to kind of try it, because we haven't seen a detrimental effect of even going with 4 liters. It's just the color, probably you will not like it because it will be too dark. So it's
and I think one of the benefits with Primo is that you will in naturally you will not cut off that much leaf, so it will have a prolonged effect with rider together with Primo, so you will have a better effect of rider.
Excellent addition, Lars, because I also have done all the work on the compatibilities with rider plus Primo, so we know it's safe to apply it. The color is really nice, and also I checked that the regulation was not jeopardized by the application of riders. So that's another important thing to understand, that you don't lose the regulation from the other product you are adding there. So
exactly,
it works.
Very good. So hope that answers this question as well. And then it's can you mix high cure and a wind protection product?
Whoa.
And are there any benefits? I don't know of any special wind protection products, but I don't know. What do you know, Marcela? Anything about that?
Not too much. And I mean, in general, Hiker is a very good tank mix partner. It's very mixable, but I have no idea about which products are out there in terms of wind protection.
Me neither.
So I cannot answer that question. I'm very sorry. I mean, if you need first to understand the other product and then make your own test. It's that's as much as I can say. I mean, you can always. I mean, greenkeepers are the best researchers. They test so many things. So with that one, I will invite them to do it, because I really don't have any data on that. We have done compatibilities with manufacturing. I mean, sorry, our distributors, kind of normal products, and it's a very good mixing product. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think especially with all our portfolio, it's mixable, of course. And then, but I would do a jar test if anyone knows what that is. It's really to
that's a good idea.
Small glass of jar, and then put water, so mix something, and then stir it and see if it's mixable. Basically, if it's not clumping or whatever, so foaming just check it there.
That's an excellent advice when you want to look at the physical compatibility of the products.
Yeah, that's physically, but the toxicity, you can't see anything.
Yeah, the biological one is something that I cannot say. So that's why it's a little bit complex when we do recommendations about tank mix, because you need to be sure that both of them are okay.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that, but thanks, Marcela. Hope that's what we can answer there, I think. And then I had some issues with anthracnose last fall, and on parts of the some greens which have poor drainage. How should I go about dealing with this spring?
So I will take my magic wand. I have somebody in the door. I'm so sorry.
I had some issues with anthracnose last fall on parts of the greens which have poor drainage. Should I go about dealing with this spring?
I can maybe add 1 or 2 comments with anthracnose, because I did a lot of work with high cure as well and diseases. It's not a plant protection product by any mean. But when I tested with anthracnose, microdochium, dollar spot, and other diseases, I wanted to see the recovery after applying the product, and I saw very good results. I mean, it will never be as a fungicide, but it can give you, I will say, maybe 20-30% extra of less disease and better recovery. Anthracnose is really like well related with environmental conditions, shade, and other things, but also with your nutrition and cultural practices. So the high has organic nitrogen form, so I think that helps as well. So we are going to do this year actually a trial with different rates and fertility programs for anthracnose specifically. So we are designing that protocol. I will say that in managing the soil, if you say that you have a problem with drainage, that will mean probably excessive water. So look at your irrigation program, and then looking at these tools like wetting agents, what could help you maybe get rid of that extra amount of water, and anything that can really create an stress in your plant. So, but with the solutions that we were discussing today, I will say that, yeah, the wetting agent could be one. The hiker could definitely help. But if you go preventative before you have the anthracnose, so the concept with the amino acids or the biostimulants is normally go before you have the stress. If you act after you see the stress, then you are not going to get the same results. So if you know you're green and you know the times, then start the applications, at least do 2 applications before you kind of think you will have disease. So I think that could be one option. And if you want to do chemical control, then we have also mixed fungicides with rider, and the results are really good as well. So it's, again, integrating.
Yeah. Thanks, Marcella. Thanks. So I can see Manuel was not thinking about the color when he talked about what times during the season he was talking about. So it's more about. So I again, and Manuel, I know a lot of course managers in the Nordics who has been programmed rider during the full summer season as well, because of 2 things. He wanted the color, and he wanted to have the UV protection. So he used that during the summer season. And then he was actually down to 0.25 liters every 2 weeks, which worked fine for him. I think Alejandro at Le Golf National before the Ryder Cup, I think he was up to 0.375, was it, or 0.325? Marcela, something like that.
Again,
but in the program 2 weeks.
I don't remember
because
by
of the
heart,
color.
But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you normally they're doing 0.5 in greens. You can go less than that, depend how frequent you can go and the tools that you have, because going out with the sprayer depends how much you want to spray, how much time will take you. So, but it's flexible because you can see the benefits with as low as 0.5. Better results, of course, when you go like rates like 1. But if you go in shorter intervals, then it will do the work. So it's very flexible. So if you're not worried about the color, then you can go as high as you want. Well, more than 2 liters, I will say, is too much.
Okay, I don't see any more questions in the chat now.
I think there is one more, Lars. Yeah, somebody's asking, saying, could there be a risk of hiding diseases in the fall when using rider? Do you want to take that one, Lars, or you want me to?
No, that's for you. That's for you as well. You're technical.
Okay, I'm a technical person. So it's a very common question. It's like makeup. That's what people had in mind with the pigments and dyes, especially. I think it comes more from the dyes than the pigments, because the pigments are really doing something inside of the plant. So from all the work I've done, and I can tell you maybe more than, 15 trials, 20 trials where I mix it with fungicides, and I will say not so much, because you can still see the decline in the turf quality if the disease pressure is high, but also the rider is helping you to cope with some of the stress. So it could be that compensates as well. So not obvious. that I will say. You as a greenkeeper, I trust that you have a good eye to look at diseases. So, I mean, if I go to a plot where I sprayed the rider and I have a disease like a dollar spot or something that is really obvious, like a microdocument that you can see the patch, the rider will not be strong enough to really mask all that high pressure of disease. Maybe if you have one or two spots, yeah, it could go unnoticed. But anyway, you're being late. I mean, if you want to prevent your diseases, you should go before that anyway. So it's not going to get worse if that's the fear referring with the question, because I haven't seen that.
I think again, that's a little bit about when you see the disease, it's there already, and it's basically too late already, isn't it, Marcella? And you can still see the disease there if you have rider on.
I think you can still see it. I mean, it depends how trained your eye is, but I think greenkeepers are the best well trained. So I don't think it's enough to make you fool yourself. You know, it's not paint, so you will notice the disease.
Yeah. Thanks, Marcella. Good. Any more questions? No.
I think we are good. I just saw that you sent some good paper for referring to the soil microbe question. So Ewan works with us Ewan works with us in Syngenta. So thank you for sending that, Ewan.
Yeah. Very good.
I will read it actually.
Good, Samer. Okay, I think if there's no more questions, I think we'll then just get us through to the end. So I just wanted to remind you a little bit on this, guys. We still have the greencast.se website for you, which is a toolbox for you guys, and it's there to use it. It's free. You have a lot of information, technical insights, technical articles, products. This is especially for Sweden, though. But also you have the weather forecast, you have the disease forecast, you have disease warning, you have everything in there as well. That's free as well. Register. You have the growing degree days, which we have been talking about earlier in this series. So it's a lot of, it's a big tool. It's there for you guys to use it. So please go into greencast.se. Even if you are in Iceland or you are in Helsinki or wherever you are, you will be able to see the weather. Also can see the disease warning, and so you can use it there as well, and the temperature. So for growing degree days. So, but then you need to register. So just register. There's no problem. And then I will just have in the end there, have a little news to announce. This is then for now, for this year, for now, until now, for our Swedish friends. So we now have the registration of Acernity in Sweden. So fantastic. I think this is, now we are coming back with the proper portfolio we had for 4 or 5 years ago when we had Headway, Banamax, and Medallion. Now we can come back with Acernity, Instrata Elite, and then Medallion again. So really fulfilled portfolio now. And also we have Heritage, which we, in the summertime, you can alternate with Acernity, which is important. So yeah, it's now coming back to help that. So the toolbox is getting better for you guys as well. So we will have a launch, and unfortunately it will be another launch digitally. We will not be able to meet face to face yet, but I'm looking forward to when that will happen. But it will be, we will come back with the date of this launch. Just need some time to have everything ready. It's just newly from the authorities. We have that registration, so we need, it's a lot of work with the labels, and it needs to be basically the correct one. So yeah, that's something we look forward to. Hope you will join that as well. You will receive information on our, so for you guys who really want to see and understand, have all the information and invitations, please register on Greencast. Then you will receive emails and from us as well. If you don't want to read it, just leave it. But if you want to read it on time, just register and then you will see them. So that's something I hope you all will do. And I think this is this takes it up for wraps it up for today, for the last Turf Nordics webinar in this winter spring session. We will be back with new series, new webinars, new training, new education, and new opportunities for you guys to collect more turf points, turf reward points, which is for you guys in Sweden for now. That's important to say as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, Marcella, thank you very much for your presentation. Really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And yeah, looking forward to see you all back next time. Okay. Have a good week and have a good weekend. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.